Alright, so we're through to the finals of the Warchief Club 17. Sorry, I was going to say 13. We're a bit beyond that one now. So this is the Oceanic event for the week. And we've got Queen Nu playing off against Kyo. Both of them picking China. And we're on French Pass. So both our players going to go for 2 scouts because they're going to want to try and figure out where the fuck everything is. And they're going to want to try and figure out what they're going to do here. Who's going to be able to apply the pressure first? Both our players on Chinese, so they're both already going for the mill and actually gathering their sheep from around the mill instead of the starting town centre. Though Syak did kill a sheep initially. So a slight mistake, but it's not really going to cost him anything. I mean, he's always going to be able to gather the food. It just means he's going to miss out on all the drop-offs. Generate that little bit of tax. But that player is going to just be empowering the mill for now, banking up the little bit extra food that you get out of empowerment because it gives you 20% extra drop-off. And then you're free to just harvest the tax once you get to about 40 gold at the mill. Because bearing in mind you don't want to bank too much up at a particular structure because there is a cooldown with harvesting the tax, and you don't necessarily want to be forced into having to upgrade the officials to have the 80 cap because it's, you know, it's not cheap. So if you want to actually be able to clear out all the gold, you're better off clearing out the structures with more on them initially that you've been empowering than worrying about the 5 or 10 gold you're going to get out of another camp. And you sort of probably want to gonna somewhat split the gatherers up if you can later on in the game. So there's sort of no point to having 30 or 40 villages on a particular resource and really wasting a lot of it because it's locked up. A lot of the gold's locked up in the tax at the building between cooldowns. Although it does mean you're only going to have a couple of officials empowering, so there is always that benefit too. You don't necessarily need to go up to 3 or 4 officials as fast. So Kyo picking up 40 gold there, and Syak's done the same. And at this rate, you know, by the time he gets up to 40 gold, the cooldown's off, they can drop off again. And you're always best off empowering the structure with the most villages. Like, it'd be stupid for these guys to empower the wood or the gold like this. 3 or 2 villages versus 7. You're getting a hell of a lot more benefit. The official's going to pay itself off a lot faster. Yada yada yada. So Kyo having a distance gather wood a little bit, but it's not terribly far distance anyway. And he is going to be able to get out that Imperial Academy marginally faster than Syak. And sorry, I will just chuck on my TWC overlay. There we go. So it's got the potential to be a really turtley game considering the map. You know, particularly if both players manage to maintain control of one of the sacreds and some of the gold around it, while basically walling off that side from any aggression. Both players getting an academy. I like Syak's because it'll be able to cover basically all of his production, all of his income at the moment. Kyo's also in a great spot, same thing, it's already ready there to give him the double drop off benefit. So it doesn't seem like much, but it basically means you're going to gather twice as much tax gold. And a bit like the Rus, if you can, you want to make as much use out of the unique gold gen mechanics. Because it sort of saves you having to worry so much about having to gather gold and having to mine out so fast and control all the gold mines around your base. And I mean, look at this. There's basically no gold for either player beyond 2 gold veins. All the rest of it is really concentrated in the middle here, and that's what I mean. If you miss out on mid-map control, you're basically fucked on this map. Barbican going down over here on this stone mine, but it does also give control to the berries and that gold mine there. Tokyo really setting up for 1 TC Song. Benefit of that is, I mean, it gives you an even better villager train time reduction than what the French get by age 2 and even 3. I mean, it does basically mean you've got to invest twice as much in your age 2, but it will pay itself off reasonably quick, and also allow you to actually work towards the second town centre pretty safely. If you're up against another civ that does play a quite slow macro-oriented start, like if you're up against French or English or Rus, it can be quite hard to play 2 TC Song. You're probably best off just playing 1 TC Song, or playing 2 TC without it. But particularly when you're up against such another macro heavy civ, when it's the mirror, well, why not? Want to play as greedy as possible, I suppose, because at the moment the late game for the Chinese in particular is really juicy, with Grenadiers and Nest of Bees sort of not really having an equivalent on the other civs. And even Fire Lancers, they're sort of like a gimped Lancer or Knight in fights themselves, but they are like a siege cavalry really, and on top of that, you know, China's got access to regular Lancers. So Kyo's gone up to 2 officials. Sayak's even gone up to 3 in the meantime, because this way he can have 2 constantly empowering his 2 most heavily gathered sources. Have a 3rd just trip between all the buildings, so not have to worry about cooldown. Then once he's done a round trip, he can always empower that 3rd structure anyway. Whereas Kyo, only on 2 officials at this point, though he does have that 2nd town centre out already, which does save him on having to get so much walk time out to actually drop off. And I mean, Kyo will eventually get a 3rd official, and on top of that, Koinu Sayak will probably get a 2nd town centre. Yeah, here we go. Sayak gonna have the 2nd town centre a little bit later than Kyo at the moment. But yeah, in saying that, his official gold generation has been a little bit better, though Kyo's already managed to close that gap. Sayak, 2nd town centre. And noting that these guys are actually leaving a bit of space, probably to try and fit some farms in. Ooh, in saying that, not really. I guess it's just sort of there, plonk there. Till that mine's out, it's not really the best spot to put down farms actually, but I suppose it's a good spot for the official down here. Not too long of a trip for him. And this one over here, as another lumber camp gets put down, he'll actually be able to go to this town centre a little bit faster than the original. Yeah, just some little tips and tricks for your early game eco. Because particularly with China, macro management is super important, and Sayak already up to a 4th official now, and so is Kyo. Both our players starting to wall the lower side, while on the top side of the map there is that Barbican from Kyo, while Sayak's scouts are just here on patrol, giving good vision. You can see nothing coming. You wouldn't really expect much if your opponent, like I said, is playing just as macro heavy as you are, particularly in the mirror. Maybe up against like a civ like Delhi or Abbasid, they might also opt to play just as macro heavy, rather than just looking at doing, you know, maybe 2 TC into some form of age 2 push. Because it looks like both our players are just working towards castle age at the moment. So Kyo just about there for both food and gold. Actually, he's got plenty of food now. Sayak a little bit behind on that front, but he's doing well on the map control front. Like, he's not really too far behind in terms of score. So double barracks here for Kyo. And double barracks as well for Sire. Clock tower for Sire. Clock tower for Kyo. Right, that player is willing to use plenty of villages to get this built quickly rather than really dallying. So we're going to have our first clash here, and now Kyo's score's really pulling ahead with that age up. I suppose once Sai gets his, most of that'll be closed. Yeah, there we go. But Kyo's still slightly ahead. So I guess going for the second town centre before the third official is slightly better. In terms of macro, I don't think it's going to really harm Sire because we are in for quite a long game behind this, but yeah, I think Kyo's opening perhaps a tad smoother. Like Kyo dropping a scout now. Don't know why it says Kyo's lost so much. I suppose the Barbican and the initial mucking around with the scouts, but I suppose here we go. We've got Palace Guards streaming in straight on to these villages. Well, there's a fairly forward monastery here. Because I suppose Syak wants to try and pinch Kyo's relics if he can, as well as grab all of his own. Because there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So Palace Guard v Palace Guard span. These guys are like the Eastern Civ equivalent to the Man-at-Arms of the European Civs. So Syak having to try and rush these walls up, but Kyo will be able to pick these vills off as well. Or at least some of them. Slow this down, slow the eco and the economy up, and really make it difficult now for Syak to try and snatch all the relics up. He's even got a mark down here that he's going to lose, I think. Yeah, so the monk's going to get picked off there. So Kyo, the pressure's going all his way, and he's going to try and stream in the Palace Guards from the other side, but Syak's already walled off. Love that thud sound that they make when they attack each other. I think Syak might be best off actually building a further lumber camp there, because it's an awful lot of walking distance. I mean, Kyo's even managed to throw down another lumber camp. I mean, I know you're Chinese and you don't necessarily want to have lumber camp after lumber camp after lumber camp after lumber camp like you would on English or French or something like that, but I still think it's a good idea to actually build them, you know, at least 1 or 2 more than the first. And it looks like Kyo really is in a good spot. He's going to pinch that mid relic. Might even be in position to pinch this one over the lower side and really restrict Syak to the 1 relic, because bearing in mind, Kyo's got this one up here to grab, and Syak managed to pinch one. There was another one at the top side. 1, 2, 3, 4. Is there a 5th up here? Yeah, there was. So who's grabbed it? Oh, yeah. Well, it looks like Kyo's really going to get all the relics. Yeah, he's got 1, 2, and where's his monastery? So Kyo, 3 relics in his possession. He's grabbed the sacred site. He's continuing to harass Syak, who's just macroing up behind this. He's finally added another lumber camp. And the Nest of Bees, a great defense actually. That splash damage, really able to clean up the Palace Guards once your own intercept them. But in the meanwhile, Kyo's really taking the initiative and forcing Sayark into playing a macro game where he's at the deficit. So in the long run, Kyo will be able to choke him out, but Sayark and Kyo, both phenomenal players. I wouldn't rule Sayark out just yet. Kyo's really expanding onto that farm eco here. He's got so much food in the bank, while Sayark is just farming off the mill at the moment, so nearly as efficient, but the granary still gives you that slight 10% gather rate benefit that does actually stack. So these fields are actually going to have a double benefit from the granaries there. Nearly all of them going to benefit from 2 granaries. Sayark really hunkering down now. He's got stone walls which can't be destroyed by the palace guards. But Kyo looks to be working towards age 4, I'd say. Sayark maintaining control of his own sacred site here. And he has picked up 2 of the relics. But yeah, he's down on the relic. And Kyo has really forced his hand with the walls at the moment. So everything looks to be going Kyo's way. And it pains me to see it as a Sayark fanboy. Sayark's been trickling upgrades here. So he's got melee damage, age 2 and 3. Melee armor, age 2. Ranged armor, age 2. And he's getting ranged armor, age 3. Kyo, meanwhile, melee damage and ranged melee armor, age 2 and 3. He's got ranged armor, age 2. So plays pretty neck and neck in terms of the armor situation here. Although in a straight up palace guard engagement, Kyo does have that armor advantage over his opponent here. So see how this plays out, and he does have some monks to heal. And bearing in mind, whoever's fighting on their doorstep is going to have the easier access to Nest of Bees to really deny a huge infantry engagement like this. It's almost comical when they have a fight, these guys. That silly attack sound that they've got. So Kyo's creeping forward with his stone walls now. He wants to lock off this market so he can gather from it in the late game. Engagement going on again, but this time Sayark's brought the Nest of Bees, so he's really going to clean up Kyo. He's a bit slower on backing off this time, and this time it was when it really probably counted. So he only had one of his own Nest of Bees here, to the 4 of Sayark. Going to be able to force out a keep quick. Kyo has plenty of gatherers here, so this will finish up in time. Kyo forced to back off for the time being. That's a nice hit there. Kyo, Sayark's brought his all forward though, and they're really going to have a good hit. Picking off a couple of palace guards there. And now Kyo doesn't have that melee armor upgrade advantage anymore. Sayark pinching back the sacred site. So Kyo having gone to age 4. He's still just in Song Dynasty though, he's just got the Great Wall Gatehouse there. Sayark. Where's his... what's he got? Engagement going on. Scouting palace guard getting cleaned up there. These others might be able to slow down Sayark's gold income a little bit. Sorry guys, I'm not a huge Chinese player, so terrible at picking out the landmarks. Here we go, Spirit Way. So buildings near the landmark produce dynasty units at 30% less cost, so I guess once he actually adds his Great Wall Gatehouse, Sayark's going to be able to go for a whole bunch of siege workshops around here. No, a whole bunch of archery ranges, maybe? So he can produce his grenadiers in the late game. because they're wonderful both against infantry and against buildings. First, some bombards out of the clock tower here for Kyo, while Sayark doing the same. He's getting bombards now that he's gone to his age 4. So players have picked the opposite age 4 landmark to throw down first, but if they want to switch to that Grenadier style, Grenadier B style in the light game, then they can, you know, just add down all the ranges and go from there. And again, Sayark, come on, man. There we go. It's almost like he's listening to me, but this game was played 3 days ago. Keep going down for Sayark and be able to defend the gold mine. But Kyo can take advantage of the fact that Sayark didn't manage to finish walling off this side. So Kyo can work the fact that Sayark's not going to have a full-length trade line, which isn't a big deal at the moment, but give the game another 5 or 10 minutes and it will be. So Sayark sort of caught now. Probably wants to cancel all this so he can actually throw down towers and stuff and they keep back here in his base. And he's going to have to repel this eventually. He's bringing all of his siege back to try and defend this. It takes a long time for these siege units to actually catch up though. And here we go. We're even seeing greased axles because this really helps alleviate that problem a little bit. Siege, man, it just really slows down your whole army. 0.62 tiles versus 1.38, so effectively half the speed of infantry. Even less than half the speed of infantry at this stage of the game. Until that greased axles kicks in. And Kyo, things are looking really nice for him at home at the moment. Still just on the Song Dynasty, because he wants to max out first, really get a good eco pop going, before he worries too much about getting into trade. Just get the villager count right up, and ooh, he's pushing into Sayark at the moment, who's managed to deflect a lot of the palace guards, but not quite all of them, and he's going to have to bring a couple of these nested bees across and even defend them. Kyo's going to be able to pick some of them off, but they are covered by other siege. So Sayark's not able to split up all his siege here, and he is continuing to push Kyo back. He might have overstayed a little bit, who's getting a bunch of hand cannoneers at the moment, so going to be the range unit he really relies on now until he does get that other age 4 landmark down and gets his Ming Dynasty out. Which is also, I guess, quite crucial in the late game, because with it, it gives you a 10% melee health bonus, 10% military health bonus to all military. You know, eventually this Song Dynasty bonus is going to wear off. And so Kyo having to clean up that little raid there by Sayark, and this is looking good for Kyo. He's got all this gold under his possession. Sayark, the same, he's also got control of one of these gold veins, but Kyo, this is really good for him. He's got 3 of them, and this other 3 here are still sort of up for contention. So Sayark's going to have to work fast, try and work away at these keeps if he can, but Kyo wants none of it. He wants to try and tear down this keep and really lock Sayark out of the mid-map gold, other than this gold vein which is behind his walls. So Sayark finally can't get any further around, but he's going to try and chop through. I think might be the idea here. Or the keep. I mean, there is the tower and the Barbican here as well, so a lot of these villages are safe for now. But bearing in mind those bombards are going to eventually tear down the keeps. Is Sayark deliberately trying to chop through here, or did he just sort of not realise? Meanwhile, Sayark going, I guess, for the base race attempt now. But I think Kyo's in a much better spot, even though all this production really is at risk. And the Bombard's going to be able to take out the nested bees before they can get out of there. So, okay, a nice little snipe there, but he is going to have to defend against a lot of Bombards of Psyox at the moment, who's really impressing with this counter push. But Kyo has cut through, and he is going to be taking down the Barbican. He's managed to take out the rest of the defensive structures here. It's an interesting base race, but it looks like Kyo seems to slowly widening his lead. He's inside Psyox's base, so Psyox needs to make sure he can maintain all of his production behind this, but he's really starting to slip. Like, look at this food and it's gold at the moment. Well, Kyo, things are looking slightly healthier. A huge wood bank for both of our players, but definitely bigger for Kyo at the moment. Both of our players losing control of their initial military production spot, and the monastery of Psyox here is going to be taken out. Also, both our players have gotten the upgrade to increase the gathering of the relic. And unfortunately for Psyox, he's lost his control of his, and now looks like he might even lose a couple of granaries. Well, Kyo having a fallback as well. He's losing some more production structures. He's got to maintain. It's a lot of barracks for him though at the moment. Look at that, pretty impressive. He's got 11 over there, even though he's just lost a bunch further north. And right now, he's forced Psyox to have to play really carefully with the gold and try and gather quite aggressively here. So the moment this all falls, Psyox's gold income is really at a huge deficit compared to Kyo's. So yeah, there's both the relics now no longer under his control. Neither's the sacred site. Kyo doesn't have his sacred, but he does have his 3 relics safely under control and seems to be slowly finding a way. Both our players' scores have actually slipped backwards slightly. So, things are really getting messy economically for the pair of them. But Kyo seems to be cleaning up Psyox's aggressive gold expansion here. So Psyox now has to look at trying to get back on this one over at the south of his base and try and get these relics under his possession as quick as he can. So Psyox coming through to try and pick off some more villages, but that keep is well positioned, and there's a lot more over here at this other gold mine. Can he see them? No, he can't actually see them, so this is huge for him. Like, he'll know the gold mine's there, but he can't see the vills. So things are settling down for the moment, but Kyo's managed to buy himself some breathing space at the north side of the map. And Psyox's been cleared out of the bottom here, so he's going to have to try and gather wood from elsewhere, and eventually he will run out of wood at home. So Kyo maxed out once again, and Psyox down at 130 pop at the moment. Things are looking a little messy for him. He really needs a lot of gold. He's struggling to gather the gold he needs to get everything together. Like, he really needs these relics. They'll generate the gold. They'll even generate some other resources for him at this point. Both our players. And GG. That's game number 1. Kyo taking it out over Psyox in China versus China.